So I am an interviewer of the paranormal, interview people from all over the world about their paranormal stories, including ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, you name it.
What was your first day at work like? How did you get into this?
I grew up in a home that was built in 1883, an old farm home that was extremely paranormally active. And so as a youngster, I had experiences from full body apparitions to stares and voices to things moving, being things thrown at me. And because of my situation, my parents didn't like us talking about it. Having grown up in a small city, in a small town, we were trying to avoid being called the crazy people. So I dove in and started learning everything I could about the paranormal. That's what really got me started on this whole trip.
Okay, how old were you? How old were you when you first remember this
I was
beginning?
around 8 years old when I remember thinking that my house was much different than my friend's house. The
Okay.
things that went on, full body apparitions of a gentleman that we, as kids, called the Man in the Hat because he had overalls and a white shirt and a wide brimmed hat, looked like an old, tall, skinny farmer that we would see on occasions.
So, what makes you roll your eyes every time you hear it? You used to be around this world a long time. What do you think? Oh, what?
Just because of the shows that are out there and some of the misconceptions. I see dust particles on cameras. It really makes me roll my eyes because and just trying to explain people the difference between particles in the air and actual orbs that they call them. That definitely makes me roll my eyes and hurts my head sometimes.
So, when you get a, let's call it a lead, like somebody says, "Hey, I've got a haunted house," are you like Ghostbusters where you just go and run and go and see them?
Earlier this fall, I had a family that contacted me. An entity is the only thing I could explain it as that had was trying to attack their daughter. And so the first thing I did was go out and talk to the people, and I helped them based on their belief system. And as for the actual investigation with the electronics and stuff like that, I have groups that I trust to go out and do that. I do a lot of the interviewing and backstory and looking at, for example, what had happened on that land in the past that may have caused it. Hopefully, you can just chalk it up to something natural, and maybe their water heater is really loud or something. And then once you've eliminated that, then helping them get through this, which has a lot to do with, again, their belief system and how they want to deal with it, if it makes sense like that.
I'm not saying that I watch Airhead Christmas movies, but if I did, it seems like this is a theme: the Christmas ghost. And
Mhm.
usually he's very good looking. Is there something particular about the holidays and people's sightings?
Of course, Halloween, people are more apt to pay attention to that. So they
Yeah, they
might
show up
see
at our
stuff
doors.
like
They
that.
knock.
Right, exactly. Knock on the
So-
doors. I do get a lot of stories where individuals are visited by um, family members who have passed
So the
because they
movies
are.
don't necessarily make you roll your eyes.
No, not at all. I
Okay.
actually really enjoy those. The Christmas Carol is probably one of my favorite kind of stories, probably Christmas wise, because it does have ghosts in it.
Okay, where on earth would you like to visit?
Oh, I would love to visit Scotland and Northern England. My grandmother is actually from Newcastle upon Tyne,
Oh yeah,
and so I would love to visit the castles up there
yeah.
and get the ghost tours and kind of get that rich history of it.
How would you, let's say, the nearest castle to us is probably Bolsover Castle, which is probably about 7 or 8 miles uh, that way. Right? How would you start to research the history of, say, Bolsover Castle?
Read everything I could, obviously online.
Mm,
Then I would probably find some of the historians that's specific for that castle.
mm,
And then I would go from there and I would love to talk to the people that work there. When
mm.
people have worked different places for a long time, they end up with really personal stories, especially when it comes to the paranormal. So that's where I would end is getting their stories. And then you're able to paint a huge picture all the way from historical past through to the future or to the present with the ghost stories.
Have you been to Dudleytown?
I have not, no, but I would love to.
What's that?
Okay. Yeah, they say now that you're not even allowed to visit the town because so many people supposedly had, all these different encounters, and it became a thing that teenagers wanted to go out into the woods. Anyway, so I was just curious. There were hunters of the paranormal that kept trying to break into the town.
So, John, do you
Yeah.
have almost like competitors in this field?
I wouldn't necessarily say I have competitors out there. I've got to meet a lot of friends and made a lot of friends. And I love the fact that it feels like most people in this field, not all, but most people like to lift each other up and help each other, which is really nice. And I really like it. I know there is a lot of infighting between groups that investigate ghosts and stuff like that, but I haven't found much animosity, at least towards me or the people I've met at all. So
How easily can you tell a lie when somebody's talking? You think, yeah, give it up.
it's very interesting when I'm interviewing somebody about their paranormal story, when people are telling this story, and it has usually a deep meaning to them because in their mind they go right back to that situation and become very emotional. This person really did have this experience.
There must be some kind of wackos that think, you know what, I'm going to get this guy come down. He's going to pay me attention. What's the word, Bob? For where you want to like get people to.
Like
Yeah.
with medical things, it'd be Munchausen's, right?
Yeah,
Where it's like you're gonna
Right.
fake a
Yeah.
symptom to get. I don't know what it is with the paranormal.
In my books, I allow people to change their name and change location if they would like to keep their anonymity. And the further along I go, it seems like the more people are okay with it. So I've never paid for a story because I feel like that would more, get people to want to, make things up. What I do is if I use their story, they get a free signed copy of that book. And I feel like if they want to tell their story and they want it to be out there, that's really, enough for them.
So how do you find something uh, out that might be in a different part of your country or in other English speaking countries? How do you find, where is your antennae? How do you find out something about, say, in Barb's neck of the woods?
My first few books were just locally.
Really?
Yeah, what I call my first couple books were in what I call Bridgerland, which is northern Utah,
Yeah.
southern Idaho. That my first couple were that because for years I had to word of mouth or go out and hunt it down or anything like that. And I'm up to 7 books now. The word has gotten out to
They
where
find
I
you.
don't have to hunt so much. Now they kind of come to me through my website and through I have my email in the back of every book and ask if you have a story, please contact me. And so it's kind of gone a lot like that.
How often do you use your best stuff? How much of the material that you get makes it to the book or books, and how much ends on the cutting room floor?
I've had people say, "Oh, I saw a ghost once," and I'm like, "Oh, well, tell me about it." And they're like, "I was in this house and it walked by." And that doesn't make a great story. I can ask them more details and try and drag it out of them, but um and some of my favorite stories that I've gotten that are what I call glitches in the matrix that aren't necessarily ghost or cryptid or something like that. It's something that happens to people that they can't explain. Sometimes it's like a personal Mandela effect where something has changed from what they remember and it's very personal. So, I like to sprinkle in a lot, like, I'll have so many ghost stories, so many cryptid stories, so many glitches in the matrix stories, and then try and get at least one finding through my stuff that's like really out there that it's kind of a head scratcher for sure.
I feel foolish asking, but what is a cryptid?
So a cryptid would be Bigfoot, lizard men, or fae, the fairies, things like that. That would fall under the cryptid kind of thing.
Bigfoot guy that we had on would disagree with you. I thought he was saying that they were just animals. Y'all should find that show.
And well, and cryptid could mean just an animal as well.
Oh, okay.
Like
Okay.
but it would be a unrecognized animal.
John, thanks so much for being on the show. How can we contact you, buy your books, listen to your podcast, and generally hang out with you online?
So you can contact me at strangerbridgerland.com. My book series, which is the Stranger Bridgerland book series, is available on Amazon on paperback and Kindle. And you can also listen to my podcast, which I do with my wife, which is the Stranger Bridgerland podcast. So reach out to me if you have a story. I'd love to hear more stories from all over the world, including England and the UK and everything. So, yep,
Excellent.
that's the best
Well,
way to get hold of me.
Bob, how can we contact you?
You can get ambitious and spell my name online, and it'll take you to my website where you can contact me from there.
Thanks so much, and we'll speak soon.